Florida. It could change at any moment. We've had our fair share of rain this week, but just a testament to how well the footing and the venue has withstood all of the weather. We actually didn't jump on the grass earlier in the week, and we just started back up on this venue yesterday in this arena, and it just looks great, and this is a tremendous field.
Well, we're starting with a great one to start with, the world medalist from the WEG Games, Martin Fuchs, who's jumping for his third week, in fact, here in Florida. Andy Kocher, winner out on the Sand School on Wednesday in the warm-up class. Lucas Porter, we also saw his brother Wilton earlier on the start list, both into the jump-off in a 5-star Grand Prix here in Florida in recent weeks as well. Erynn Ballard, part of the 5-strong Canadian squad here for Nations Cup action this weekend. We're also seeing Eve Jobs, who's had a very good placing already here at Deerage Farms this weekend. Beezie Madden, of course, she's part of the 5-strong NetJets US jumping team this weekend. And again, she is just getting good result after good result week after week here in this preliminary season that we have down in South Florida. Laura Kraut's part of that squad as well, and the USA will be hungry for victory. It's a couple of years since the USA have taken the victory at their home Nations Cup show. Canada, with such a strong result last year, a real dream team for them. And the exciting new addition this year is going to be a team for Israel, and we've just seen Danielle Goldstein and Daniel Blumen, their names coming up towards the end of the starting order. Two of the members of that Israeli team here at the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup of the United States of America this weekend.
We'll have 6 teams jumping on Sunday as we build up really to the first Nations Cup this venue has ever had.
At the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you very much, Tom Blake.
And thus, as ever here at Deerage, the scene is set for a very big class. This will be the 4th year of the Palm Beach Masters, but as Katie mentioned, it's the first time the Nations Cup has come to this immaculate venue here in South Florida, and great pride amongst the organising team to have it here.
2019, just a minute or so away from starting. A lot at stake this afternoon.
The Jacobs really want this venue to be a home to high-performance sport, and you have to look no further than our first competitor to know that they've achieved that in the caliber of riders and people that have come over here and want to come here, like Martin, for the very first time.
Absolutely. He's been over, won a 5-star Grand Prix here in America last week. He's won 2 World Cup qualifiers over the winter season as well. He is the individual silver medalist from last summer's FEI World Equestrian Games in Tryon, North Carolina. Martin today rides Silvershine, representing Switzerland. He's here as an individual rider. There's no Swiss team for this Nations Cup, but they will be contesting the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup Div 1 in Europe, including their own show at St. Gallen later on this summer. Alan Wade, no stranger to these turf arenas here at Deerage, or indeed up and down the east coast of America. He built at the American Gold Cup last summer as well, and has done for many years there. He set the track, and although we're going to have one of the very best straight out of the box, it is a jump-off class, so hopefully we'll get to see Martin again in the jump-off. And instead of concentrating on him, which of course we will, but let's have a little bit of an analysis of the course as well, Katie.
Absolutely. I first just want to point out that Martin strategically brought his horse up to that brick archway fence. In the qualifier yesterday, this horse actually gave him a very surprising spook there, and there was a disobedience at that fence. He is coming out and making sure that that is not an issue today, and it's a bit spookier today leading into a combination. And in this track that Alan Wade has set today, if you're a rider, you're thinking about the challenges, but if you're sitting up here like John and I are and going to break this down, it's mouth-watering. It's really exciting, a lot of technical aspects, and what a rider to be our pathfinder here. And it starts right off the back.
Hey,
and
well, there you are. This horse didn't have a happy experience in this ring yesterday. It's not even the jump that Martin was worried about, but they come around to that one based on Delaware North, the Jacobs Company's involvement with the Kennedy Space Center here on the Space Coast of Florida. And just goes out the right-hand door over the shoulder.
That is quite surprising. Martin really came in proactive. It wasn't like that necessarily caught him too off guard, but it did. It just goes to show you that it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, and a rider of Martin's caliber, he knows what he's sitting on. He knows what he's feeling, and that horse just decided at absolutely in a split second that it wasn't just going to take on that fence, because to unseat a rider of this caliber is really quite something. Well, we know we're going to have a very good class, but a very surprising start to it here with that elimination for Martin Fuchs. But we rattle on, and we go to one of our Nations Cup squad members for the Canadian team. Canada here with a squad of 5 and also another individual rider, and always, of course, very, very welcome here in the United States of America. They will also be thinking about their own Nations Cup, the Nations Cup of Canada, happening at the Thunderbird Show Park in Langley, British Columbia, later this summer. Part of this 3-strong series together with Jalapa in Mexico that will decide who will go to represent North, Central America and the Caribbean at the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup Finals in Barcelona in September. So Hyde Moffatt, a native of Brantford, Ontario, is our next in the ring, riding Ariel Grange's Grafton. Hyde rode at the Nations Cup show in Ocala in the 2017 season, but if he makes it onto the team here on Sunday, it will be his first team appearance. Jumped the World Cup qualifier at Gold Cup last autumn and rode the international tour in recent years at Toronto as well.
Well, Hyde probably hoping to get a good idea of how the course rode from Martin Fuchs, but unfortunately now he's going to be the pathfinder and a bit of the guinea pig around this track, and he'll start with a rail right off the bat.
Yeah, front rail off the ascending ox. I mean, it is ascending, but only just at 1. And those dark-coloured poles, the Longines blue and FEI purple, they do create quite an imposing fence.
It's a very steady 7 that Hyde just navigated to our CP vertical, the first meter 60 in today's track. Pushing across there, very nice effort. Now to our Taylor Harris vertical. It's right down there by the in-gate, and it's a meter 58. And that'll put them on 8.
Yeah, just misjudged that quite a lot. Out over the triple bar, sees them sailing down this distance to the North Star fence. We've got a time allowed of 83 seconds around this track as well. Because it's the Grand Prix, it's a step up. The previous classes in the big ring on the Grand Prix Tour have been at 375 meters a minute. This one's at 400 meters a minute, so you can get a sense, even at that speed, at 83 seconds, it's a long track. And that is just a little bit more of a development of what happened to him at the Taylor Harris fence.
Absolutely. Just not, the communication just not quite there. That wasn't the stride he wanted to leave on, and the horse couldn't quite leave when he has to jump a meter 70 wide Liverpool Oxer.
He's just picking up that first rail from a couple of angles as well at the first fence, the Longines FEI. And you see actually the first pole that he took out of the Taylor Harris vertical was the middle pole, because the horse actually paddled at it.
Definitely proving to be a challenging track early. A lot of technical questions here, and just very stout. We have a meter 75 wide Oxer. To put in perspective, the triple bar is a meter 80 wide. So there's some pretty stout fences here. Looks like Hyde's just going to take a courtesy fence here. Or he comes back around. He'll give this another go. Successful on the second attempt.
It has that looky little footbridge into the double that they were thinking about. We saw Martin Fuchs take his horse over to have a look at it. So we've got time penalties coming in as well. It is a total of 14 jumping faults for Hyde Moffatt. So Hyde, as I said, part of the Canadian Nations Cup squad. Not all of that squad is going to jump today in the Grand Prix, although they're all entitled to. The same for the US. It'll be very interesting to speak to Chef D'Keep and to riders now after the class, because it's too late to stick or twist, as it were, about some horses will be better for not jumping today. But if this has any bearing on the sort of track that Alan's going to build for Sunday in the Nations Cup, there might be one or two riders going, maybe I should have taken up my place in the Grand Prix.
Absolutely. There are a lot of jumping opportunities this week. There was a warm-up competition to start. We had a welcome stake, the qualifier, a classic tomorrow, speed tour. So it can be very challenging to plan out the best routes to get to that Nations Cup. Actually, before our speed tour this morning, a couple of horses were able to come in and just get a school, not counting in a class. So they're taking a lot of different paths, but it's such an individualized process. You have to know how much your horse needs before they get to that class, but also to be prepared for it.
Well, no stranger to Nations Cup action for the United States of America, Lillie Keenan. She's been on the winning Nations Cup team at the likes of Dublin and Ireland, Spruce Meadows in Canada. It was top 10 in the Nations Cup Grand Prix here in Wellington, Florida 12 months ago. Lillie with Skyhorse. Now, she is not part of the NetJets US jumping team this week. That's going to be Margie Engel, Laura Kraut, Beezie Madden, Devon Ryan and McLain Ward. But here you are. You've got several riders who've been right the way to the Nations Cup finals riding here as individuals this weekend, just showing what strength and depth Robert Ridland has.
He really does, and it's an exciting time for the U.S. team to be able to start the Nations Cup season and have your squad be Margie, Beezie, McLain, and Laura is just sensational. It has to give you so much confidence.
Speaking of McLain, you just see him there by the FEI Nations Cup sign, keeping an eye on Lillie, who's now, having been with Cian O'Connor for a long time, getting most of her training from McLain Ward, alongside Adrienne Sternlicht, his teammate on the gold medal winning team at Tryon last year. It's quite the stable of riders. Hey.
She was putting forth a textbook ride and just kind of left the ground a bit awkwardly. It looked like she wanted to wait one more step and then kind of lean forward. The horse kind of climbed across there, and then she'll take down that final meter 59 Liverpool vertical. That score's not quite indicative of how lovely that round was up until that final line.
What's interesting at the moment, she came in at about 79 seconds. We actually just, if we'd had one more stride there, you would have seen also the horse just stutter a little bit. There you see it exactly.
Absolutely.
As he just catches the eye of that little footbridge. What's interesting is we normally say they have 3 rounds to watch before they have to make any final decision on the time. That's 3 uninterrupted rounds. So in fact, we've only seen 1 uninterrupted round so far. So the judges do have another little bit of leeway to just look at that time allowed of 83 seconds. I think potentially they would like to shorten it up, because if Lillie's getting there at 79, she didn't look like she was hustling. She did look like she was riding at a true 400 meters a minute.
I would completely agree. It was very controlled ride and was still quite safe on that time allowed.
Well, Mexico, who took that great victory in the Aga Khan, the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup of Ireland last year. We welcomed the first of their riders this weekend, Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado. Juan Jose jumped World Cup here at Deerridge a fortnight ago. Represented Mexico at the Nations Cup in Spruce Meadows in Calgary last year, and was top 10 in his home Nations Cup Grand Prix at Jalapa last summer as well.
Well, we mentioned what an exciting time it is for Team USA, but talk about Team Mexico. I don't think there's a nation where the sport is growing at a more rapid rate. I mean, they have established such a circuit. The country is so passionate about the sport, and the level just continues to rise, and it all kind of came to a head there at Dublin, and they really said, we're for real.
Yeah, it unfortunately didn't quite come together for them, but they went off Dublin in a lot of people's minds as actual contenders for team medals at the World Games, following up just a few weeks later. both the triple combination, Katie, and also this Deerage Farms fence where we had the problems for Hyde Moffatt, they come off a very short turn. You have to be right over by the advertising barriers. You line up and you find yourself only about 3-4 strides away on your approach.
Absolutely, and A to B in that triple combination is quite forward. You see the riders really land and having to push to get through B.
Really attacked that triple bar to get himself up to the North Star, but unfortunately the front rail of the NetJets fence is down.
Meter 75 wide to now meter 70 wide Oxer. And that brick archway, Alan Wade has just had a lot of fun with that fence, because what he does is he sets it out on course, it spooks the horses, then he takes it back and brings it out a bit more airy and not so built up. It catches them off guard again. Juan Jose, that's a very experienced horse, no issue with that jump, but not quite a clear.
Yeah, it's a real shame, actually. Probably just shaved in a little bit tight. When you have a dog leg or a curving turn like he had from the North Star to the NetJets, you have to choose. You're going to be on an inside line, a straight line, an outside line. What's going to come up best for your horse? And I think he maybe just got there on a slight half stride, maybe just a fraction off where he'd like to be. Very, very unlucky for a horse that jumped, as you said, the footbridge so smoothly.
See our Be Proud statue that's been erected here this week at Deer Ridge Farms, and really just embodying the spirit of nationalistic pride. This is the new campaign for the new season of the Nations Cup. Anyone that's watching at home and wants to join the conversation, the hashtag this season is Be Proud, and of course everyone wants as many fans that we can pack into the stands here in Wellington, Florida, to just be showing their pride for their nation this week and cheering home, hopefully USA, but I know you have some other allegiances, though they won't be in this particular Nations Cup.
Oh, I think I've got my Irish boys to look after.
Okay, all right. They're strong.
Todd Minikus in the ring, U.S. Pan American Games medalist, top 10 in the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup qualifier here at Deerage a fortnight ago. And Todd was runner-up in the Grand Prix qualifier run here yesterday with this horse, Chavantino.
These two are just a pair on the rise. They have been so consistent here at Deerage. They have really made themselves at home here. Like you mentioned, John, finishing second yesterday. They had a clear first round in the top 10 in the World Cup here just a few weeks ago. And that day, Todd came out after that clear and said, you know, the biggest thing for me was having just the confidence to go into the ring and give that course a try. Well, they're so confident now. It's outstanding.
That was a big track as well for that World Cup. It was you know, absolutely top level. And it was great that on the Sunday of a week of jumping on turf, that we were able to set a competition of that standard for them, because the show organizers had worked so well to look after that surface for the whole week, so that we had world-class sport from Wednesday right through to Sunday.
That's a meter 60 vertical at that North Star fence there after the triple bar, and so far it hasn't posed a problem, but that's a very technical line there the riders have been doing quite well with. Just kind of rolled down there. That created a bit of a domino effect. Came into that line so easily. Nice recovery to give himself some more space there on that turn to that last fence.
Yeah, shame. It is 8 faults there, so second place for Todd Minikus. Our 4-fault round for Juan Jose Zendejas. Salgado leads the way. It's just a bit of a shame. It almost looked like Todd was trying to make sure of the fence, and the horse was going, leave me alone. I've got this, boss. And between them, then that ended up having both parts of it down.
So eager, he just kind of pulled him right past that distance he wanted.
So riding in this class alongside his brother Lucas, who comes a few later on the starting order. This is Wilton Porter. A few years ago, the North American young rider, individual gold medalist, jumped World Cup already this season at Oslo in Europe, and here at Deerage Farms 2 weeks ago, and represented the US Nations Cup duty in Central Europe, in Bratislava, a season or so ago as well.
Really talented U25 rider that's getting so much experience on the big stage and some top shows across the pond, working with your own double dom. He rode that beautifully. As you mentioned, John, it comes up very quick out of the turn, and he just swept right in and found it right out of stride. Really well done.
I think it's very clever what Alan's done as well, because after the triple combination, which is quite a difficult gymnastic exercise in what he's asking you to do, oxer, oxer, vertical, the next fence isn't a gimme either. It's on one of these curving lines, so you have to be sitting up and ready to ride your plan to the next fence, or you could so easily have it, even having cleared the triple.
It's a lot of wait and go, too, because then you have to steady for that vertical by the in-gate, kind of down toward that end, and then open back up for a triple bar to collect again. A lot of stop and go.
This Coletta Cabana horse has scope to burn, though, doesn't he? He's just stepping over these big jumps.
They made that look easy.
Lovely round. Just over 80 seconds. Wilton Porter is clear round number 1. Had a 5-star Grand Prix clear here in Florida this season already to get through to a jump off, and looks like he's about to do the same here at Deer Ridge Farms Nations Cup weekend.
So great to see him back in the States after having so much success as a young rider, and you just see the difference in his position. It's so strong, and that's what makes the difference in these bigger tracks.
Ashley Bond. Ashley with Chela LS. Israeli rider. Rode for Israel at the World Equestrian Games. Ridden at 4 World Cup finals as a US rider, but declared for Israel in the spring of 2018. And a winner of the welcome class here at the Nations Cup show at Deer Ridge on Thursday.
We'll talk about nationalistic pride. Ashley is just sporting the Israeli blue in as many ways as she possibly can. Such a great personality, and she's really passionate about getting Israel these team opportunities, and this week is quite special for them all to be able to have a team for this 5-Star Nations Cup. And Ashley did say she wanted to make sure she jumped the Grand Prix with this horse because she needs to get in the ring a little bit more than maybe some others. And that's despite being 15 years old.
But yes, as we say, in terms of nationality, it's a new look, but a very, very experienced rider. She's been in the top 10 in the Aachen Grand Prix, won the series finale Grand Prix at Horses in the Sun. I think it was one of their $1 million Grand Prix, and been on US Nations Cup teams before her redeclaration as well as those World Cup finals.
Look at that fight to get back for that. So she was trying so hard. She saw it coming.
Yeah, they'd been going in quite a longer outline than you look at, and it had been super successful for them. But when Ashley just needed to compress things down that wee bit more into the double here in front of the double-decker VIP, just couldn't make it happen. And maybe that's the experience she was looking for in this ring. Maybe it wasn't about winning today. Maybe it was about making sure that she had what she needs on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Well, the Sleepy Pea Ranch sends their second rider, Lucas Porter, with Sea Hunter. Jumping in Europe all summer, as we mentioned, out of the Ardor Euron Dubaldam, including in the 5-Star Grand Prix at the Longines Paris Masters in December. Lucas was just off the podium in a 4-Star Grand Prix here in Florida in recent weeks. And the same day as his brother won the North American Young Rider individual gold medal, Lucas was being presented with the North American Junior individual gold medal.
They were truly just unstoppable forces in their youth here in the States. But an early rail is going to fall for them here. Will not be matching the feet of his brother.
Yeah, they were jump-off contenders side by side in a recent 5-Star Grand Prix, but as you say, not going to be the case today. And just takes another vertical. This time it's the one coming out of the triple combination to put him on 8 faults with quite a lot of jumping yet to go.
He came through that triple with so much pace, and he just didn't quite take back enough out of C. Kind of rolled right through there. That was well done. So he's riding without gloves. It almost looked like there in the corner that the reins almost slipped out of his hands.
He did look like he was just having to sort something out with his outside hand, and now we have a refusal going into this footbridge. And Lucas is going to retire, it looks like.
Fortunately, just not their day. Now they would look there at some of those rails through the triple here. They just kept building. They were kind of gradually fading left there.
Andy Kocher won the warm-up class out in the Sand School on Wednesday here at Deerage Farms. Call it the Sand School. It is a beautiful second arena here, and actually I think it becomes the major arena for the Deerage Derby weekend coming up at the end of the month.
Yes, we'll have use of both arenas for the final event of the series. The Hunters will take center stage, but that will be the primary show jumping ring for that event in a few weeks' time. It is absolutely beautiful and very high-tech this year. There's some LED signage lining the arena. There's a Taylor Harris Beach Bar, Boardwalk Boutiques. It's definitely no slouch of a second fiddle to this venue right here.
So Andy, who represented the United States of America at last summer's Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup finals, he also was a World Cup finalist last spring in Paris, and once he knew that he was sort of aiming for those finals, he jumped a lot in Europe. He was back and forward week in, week out, and carry that on then. We've seen him in the winter in Europe at the likes of Frankfurt and Liverpool picking up good results, but he has the Suncast fence down, who are one of our primary supporting sponsors to Longines this weekend.
Andy's bringing up a really nice string of young horses, and these have been more of the steady campaigners that keep him at the top level while he's waiting for the superstars to really come to the forefront.
You know Andy quite well. Apparently he's rocking the playoff beard at the moment.
He is.
Do you think, I mean, his next big class, I suppose, is the Classic tomorrow because he's not lining out as part of the NetJets US jumping team. Do you think the beard goes this weekend?
I think he might like to actually keep it a little longer and play it out, but it's Fear the Beard is his tagline of the moment. He's not shaving his beard. I find it very appropriate considering the Jacobs family owned the hockey team, the Boston Bruins, because that is a very hockey thing to do, is to have a playoff beard. But Andy says when he wins a big 5-star class or a 4-star Grand Prix, he'll shave it. So we'll see what the timeline is for that.
8 faults, 82 seconds against an 83 seconds time allowed for Andy Kocher and Carollo. So we've got one clear, Wilton Porter. Juan Jose Zendejas is on the 4 faults in second, and then it's 8 faults for Todd Minikus, Lillie Keenan, Ashley Bond, and Andy Kocher.
Just got a bit close in both of those areas. A very solid round for that horse.
Well, no full team for Argentina, but we're delighted to have a representative from the host country of last year's Youth Olympic Games, Stefano Baruzzo. Stefano rides the Ara Bois Margot's Ressoa Dag Bois Margot.
Can you say that again really fast? That's impressive.
Yeah, but I can't say it backwards. Stefano's been riding in the US here since 2017, Road Nations Cup at Wellington last spring. Several podiums in the Grand Prix series at Tryon, North Carolina, and took a top 10 in the Grand Prix, or one of the series of Grand Prix at the Great Lakes Show Series in Michigan last summer.
That was where they made their meter 60 debut. This is definitely the biggest week and competition that they've jumped at. Very successful at the national level. This will no doubt be a really valuable experience for them and a great opportunity. Looks like he just needs to get his horse a little bit out more from behind his leg. All three elements of the triple coming there. It's going to be a very quickly accumulating 12 and now 16.
And what's fascinating about this sport, and maybe a little bit confusing, is if you were tuning in to watch a CSI 3-star, 2 levels below this, the Grand Prix would still be categorized as meter 60. And you go, well, I mean, what's the difference then? It's the intensity and the technicality that you get from a level 4 course designer, which is the top level in the world, like Alan Wade, that makes this meter 60 Grand Prix 5-star over another one at the 3-star level. You only need to have 2 verticals that stand meter 60 to achieve that classification. So that's, you know, where we are here. Stefano, he has meter 60 experience, he has Grand Prix experience, but you're putting it all together here at a CSIO, a Nations Cup 5-star Grand Prix, and you start to see we still have lessons to learn.
Sure, but you know, that horse was super game and just continued to go and seemed completely unfazed. Definitely positives to take away and a lot of things that they'll learn from and hopefully can practice in their training at home.
So a 20 fault round, of course, 12 of those faults coming in the Longines triple combination line for Stefano Baruzzo and Rousseau da Guamago for Argentina. Well, that Peruvian flag will be corrected, I'm sure, because it is Peru that comes now. Alonso Valdez Prado. Alonso owns and rides Chichester by the great Casal. Alonso, a Rio Olympian in 2016, represented Peru at his second World Games in Tryon, North Carolina last September. Bronze medalist at the Bolivarian Games a season or so ago, and missed out this year, but in 2017 and 2018 he jumped here in this very arena at the Palm Beach Masters World Cup show.
This horse had a little bit of a rest, came out a little bit later in the winter than many this season. And a lot of trouble here. What an effort out of that triple combination, and what a save. Still looking for the stirrup, and Higa's going to continue on. Now that is some determination.
Gets his stirrup back before this Taylor Harris vertical, one of the biggest fences on the course.
He emerged from all of that with just one rail.
Yeah.
That is outstanding.
Took the words out of my mouth. It's exactly the takeaway from that. After all that drama, he still managed to jump 2 fences on this course without his pedals, barely holding his reins. Gets a hard rub there at the net jets on the front rail, but it stays. 4 faults faster than 78.18 would go into second place as well, let's not forget.
You have to root for him home now.
Well,
one more for him.
Going to join the big group on 8 faults, and that will actually, unsurprisingly, also put him into time after the efforts he had to make earlier on the track. 8 for jumping, 1 for time for Alonso Valdez and Chichester for Peru, and that is a total of 9.
Just completely unbalanced, shifting all the way to the right. If you had live odds that they do in other sports like American football, it would have been, you would have gotten incredible money that he would have stayed on and continued to clear that fence on the way out. That was just an outstanding athletic effort from horse and rider.
Well, next to go, an outstanding horse and rider combination. Cat Tyree and Bokai. 13 years old now, Bokai, by up to date. Top 10 in the World Cup qualifier at the National Horse Show, and winner of our Grand Prix qualifier here yesterday at the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup of the United States of America. Cat's been on Nations Cup teams at T-Bird here in Wellington, Florida. He's had some very good runs at the Hampton Classic Horse Show and jumped across a lot of good top-level 5-star shows in Europe.
She is riding so confidently right now. It's great to see. She really starts to establish herself as a professional after riding as an amateur for quite a few years. She has a great partnership with this horse.
But at the very head of her stable, she's actually in the lucky position of having 2 winners, because there's this horse in Katunji as well.
Oh, absolutely. And she just won recently with a newer mount in Beezie Lorenzo. This horse is so athletic. He gives such an effort with his hind end over every fence. Holds him out really well there for that vertical.
Yeah, it did give it a rattle, but it has stayed. And yesterday's class, the Grand Prix pre-qualifier, proves exactly how much of a threat this horse is. It was a very, very strong jump-off, and she stood supreme. Over Todd Minikus, who can be a demon against the clock, and over, of course, the winning machine, Beezie Madden, who slotted into 3rd with her World Cup winner, Breitling.
And she had to go first. So she didn't even have them to watch and catch. They had to catch her, and she held on.
Now we have a jump-off here today, because it will be the US versus the US so far. Wilton Porter and Cat Tyree are our 2 qualified for the jump-off in the Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters.
She rode that spot on. Her position is so strong, so patient. She did give that vertical a nice rattle. That was a great look at it. It hops in the cups, but luck's on her side this week.
Erynn Ballard for Canada, Canadian Championship rider at the World Games last September. On the podium in the Longines New York Masters Grand Prix just over 12 months ago, or just under. Native of Tottenham, Ontario, the 1998 McLain Medal winner at the National Horse Show, and part of the Equine Canada Nations Cup squad this weekend here at Deerage Farms. And actually, it's a little bit, Peter Wild is one that sticks in my mind as being able to do this. Jimmy Toronto as well. She's a McLain Medal winner. When I was up in Toronto 2 years ago for the World Cup qualifier jumping, Erynn she entered the Hunters. She won that as well. She won the Hunter Derby at the Royal.
She is so versatile. We like to call her a triple threat because she's done it all with the equitation, the Hunters, the highest levels of show jumping. And she teaches. She's probably one of the hardest working, busiest people at a horse show. She never stops. Great ride there. She thinks very highly of this horse. Horse just stepping up to these kinds of classes. And she's a tough rider, too. So reactive there.
Yeah, she got exactly what she wanted going into that triple bar, the Boston Bruins fence on the way to North Star, because she knew this horse was going to cover ground and she couldn't afford to get deep into the base of the triple bar and have her throw herself down the distance. So the footbridge is almost certainly going to be her only problem on course, but it'll keep her out of the jump-off today. But that is a strong round of jumping for somebody looking to catch the eye of the chef to keep and be part of the team of 4 for Sunday, because 4 faults over a tough track can often be very, very useful in team jumping. The dynamic is so important in that competition.
It really was foot perfect all the way around, up until that footbridge. And Foligny reacted so well as soon as that rail came down, just absolutely skyrocketed out of that double.
So Colombia are going to be one of our teams here on Sunday as well. Juan Manuel Gallego owns and rides Kulosh Fondenbroy. First of the Colombian riders we see in today's Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters. Juan Manuel, another rider who we saw at the World Games last summer. He won a World Cup League final a couple of times down in Colombia. And we've seen him here in Florida jumping the World Cup qualifier at Live Oak in Ocala on several recent occasions. He had a real tour de United States last year because we've got him with Grand Prix results at the Hampton Classic, at Upperville in Virginia, and over in Michigan as well. Several weeks worth of good Grand Prix results at the Great Lakes Festival.
Yeah, very well-traveled duo. Giving a great ride so far.
You know, we've zoned in on several areas of this course, but they come one after the other. There's very little breathing time or reset time on this course. I mean, even if you consider this wide sweeping turn a reset moment, you are resetting for something very, very difficult.
Yeah, so many times we've seen riders come fault-free to that final line, and that's what gets them. We could have clear three, though.
We could, and we do. Juan Manuel Gallego, Kulosh Fondenbroy are clear round number 3, joining Cat Tyree and Wilton Porter in our jump-off for this $210,000 class.
That horse just jumped fantastic.
So just exchanging a couple of words of congratulation and advice in the in-gate as Juan Manuel leaves and Pablo Barrios for Venezuela enters the arena. The two-time Olympian, ridden at 4 World Games, was third in our Friday speed class here at Deerage this weekend. Pablo rides Elana, a 10-year-old mare by the VDL sire Harley.
These two have been paired for less than a year now, and was really a quick ascent up the ranks for them. And the results are starting to come at the bigger levels. A top 3 finish in the 4-star Grand Prix at Tryon, a top 10 finish in the 3-star Grand Prix at Traverse City. And it's the Suncast Oxer that'll fall for them. It's that back rail that catches them.
And I think maybe that happened before he jumped the Kennedy Space Center fence, because he was just drifting a little bit on that corner. He couldn't really get the horse to engage around the corner going away from the in-gate, so perhaps didn't get super stride to the space shuttles, and then that caught him actually over the Suncast fence, which is exactly kind of what it's set up to do as a related distance.
That was a great commitment to that Oxer. He's really just been trying to hold this horse to the base, but it catches up with him a little bit there at the footbridge. And they'll pull the last as well. That's still 1.59 to end the course.
Yeah, I think it's the first time we've seen that Longines watch face vertical go, but Pablo Barrios picks it up for 12 jumping faults and just outside the time allowed. We'll give him 1 for time. 13 in all.
Yeah, just a bit quiet there to that oxer.
So the Mexican colors come into the Deerage Arena. Manuel Gonzalez Dufresne with Hortensia van der Leeuwkerk. Manuel, top 10 in the World Cup qualifier at Guadalajara in January. Top 10 in the Nations Cup Grand Prix at Jalapa in Mexico, part of this series in both 2016 and 2017. In 2017, Manuel was the individual champion at the South American Games and part of the Mexican team that won silver. If he's on the team for Stanley Von Passion on Sunday, it will be his first non-championships Nations Cup appearance.
Had a lot of success in their native country. And that's what's so great about these Nations Cups as well, because it truly brings the international fields together. And we're very fortunate to be in this hub that's Wellington and see so much international activity. But the Nations Cup really brings, really brings everybody here. Has to go. He was reaching there and couldn't do anything to avoid that at that point.
Yeah, just caught it with his chest because he hadn't been able to get up in the air enough because they're having to reach for that back bar. So that's 4 faults pretty early on because the triple combination line is coming up at fence 4 on this track. 5.
Another fantastic effort. He tried to propel himself across, and he could have easily just kicked out that rail. Instead, he'll miss it by a hair.
Second part of the double in front of the VIP down, bringing him home on 8. Time's okay, so it's 8 faults for Manuel Gonzalez Dufresne and Hortensia. And that will go into 8th position as things stand. 3 clears leading the way. Only 2 behind them on 4 faults. Juan Jose Zendejas for Mexico and Erynn Ballard for Canada. So that's our top 5 at the moment.
Both rails coming at B of an oxer. So that's definitely something that you can take home with you and work on. Gymnastics, such an essential exercise in a training regimen.
A young lady who's been doing incredibly well on the West Coast Sub-League of Longines FEI Jumping World Cup action. Eve Jobs. Eve owns and rides Limbridge, horse with which she had a 5th place finish in yesterday's Grand Prix qualifier here at Deerage. Rode twice at the Continental Junior Championships and picked up her first ever Grand Prix win at the Split Rock Jumping Tour in Lexington, Kentucky in May 2017.
This horse is a joy to watch. They positively bounded over the course yesterday in the qualifier. They were 6/100ths of a second over the time. And I happened to pass Eve afterward and just congratulated her because this horse and she are just stepping up to these bigger classes. And she was really kicking herself for that little bit of a time mismanagement. But she is truly riding with a lot of confidence right now. Unfortunately, they're going to pull down an early rail here at our Suncast Oxer. But Eve looking like she will indeed be going to her first World Cup finals with her current standing on the West Coast Sub-League. Currently commuting back and forth from her studies at Stanford University. We chatted with her the day before the World Cup, and she said, "Oh gosh, I have to write a paper after the class tomorrow."
That just seems unfair. Professors should understand. Time's okay. Just the 4 faults then for Eve Jobs and Limbridge, but I mean, just when you put that career in context, first ever Grand Prix win in May 2017. Here we are in spring of 2019. She is as good as assured to go to the World Cup finals.
Absolutely. A bit shifty there over that Suncast Oxer. You can see she kind of really lands left, jumps a bit right to left, and that'll put her on 4. Still a nice day at the office.
Well, another man who's picked up a great victory on the Split Rock Jumping Tour, taking a World Cup qualifier win at their Ohio venue last October, Eugenio Garza Perez. Eugenio was part of the Mexican team that won the Aguican in Dublin last year, the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup of Ireland. Eugenio rides Victor Finn DHZ in today's Grand Prix. He's no stranger to this Nations Cup qualifier, having ridden in the Ocala edition on 3 separate occasions.
These two have a great partnership. This horse missed quite a bit of time due to injury. Eugenio was so patient. They've come back and been so consistent. Just a real testament to the horsemanship of being patient and letting him come back when he was ready. That was beautifully ridden. Everything coming up on just the right stride at the moment.
Just one to go for probably the round of the day so far. Eugenio Garza Perez puts Mexico in the jump-off in great style. That was a super, super round. Clear round number 4, but you'd have to say the most stylish of the 4 so far.
These two were third in the 5-star Longines Grand Prix at Thunderbird in Langley. They want to come back and they want to move up 2 more spots. They look like they are more than capable today.
Well, another chance for the US to send a rider into that jump-off as we welcome Andrew Wells. Andrew, who himself had a good result at that Split Rock, Ohio Longines FEI Jumping World Cup qualifier last October. Took an international class win at Tryon last year and jumped World Cup and had a class top 5 here at Deerridge a fortnight ago during the World Cup meeting. Andrew rides Brindis Boogie Boo by Grand Pilote.
These two have been so consistent as of late, but they came out yesterday in the qualifier and had quite an uncharacteristic day for them with several rails. And I had to wonder whether it was just because they hadn't gotten to jump on the grass yet and they were, you know, just rubbing off a little bit of that rust. Looking like a much smoother start today. Oh, great effort there. He rode that every step.
Yeah, certainly had to work hard for the triple combination, but as long as they stay up, it almost doesn't matter how you do it. Great eye, because he saw what he wanted 4 or 5 strides away from that triple bar. And also, it's quite lucky that maybe there wasn't the full complement in yesterday's Grand Prix qualifier. Indeed, we don't have a full class today. We've got 44 athletes out of a maximum that we could have had of 50. But Andrew's experience yesterday looks like it's just made him all the more determined today, and it's paid off because it's clear for Andrew Wells and Brindis Boogie Boo. He's back for the jump-off in the big class of the week for him because he's not part of the NetJets US jumping team. This is his day to shine.
That was outstanding, and that takes such a mental strength to come back after a not-so-great day and put in that kind of performance over an even bigger and more technical track, and he just committed to that every step of the way. You saw him sight in on the distances he wanted, and he rode right to them. It was awesome.
It's belief as much as anything. He knows that horse can do it. He just had to come in and believe it could do it today. Cormac Hanley in the ring. Cormac with Heathman Farms' Alma Z. Fourth in the Grand Prix qualifier yesterday with his Nations Cup horse Cartello. This will be his first selection for the Irish Senior Nations Cup squad. We'll see whether he makes one of Michael Blake's team of 4 come Sunday. He's got a very good season under his belt on the Eastern Sub-League of Longines FEI Jumping World Cup and took a podium in the Grand Prix last summer at Upperville as well.
He's set to jump on that team on Sunday. He did not jump BDL Cartello in the jump-off yesterday to save him for Sunday. He is absolutely ecstatic and cannot wait for his first Nations Cup opportunity on a senior team. But he does have plenty of team experience as a junior rider.
Yeah, 3 times the medalist at Youth Championships, team gold at the Children on Horses, and team bronzes and silver at juniors, which is the under-18 level.
And BDL Cartello has absolutely been his top mount, but this one has been a little bit overshadowed because plenty of nice results of his own. That includes a top 10 in the World Cup qualifier at Washington.
And Cormac was top 10 here a fortnight ago as well, taking an 8th place finish in the World Cup at Deerage.
And I think that's what did it for him, to get him that team opportunity. So talk about capitalizing. Good reaction there. His horse peaked a bit into that double.
So 8 faltadors for Cormac Hanley today with Alma Z. So we're expecting to see him as part of Michael Blake's squad on Sunday in the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup of the United States of America with VDL Cartello.
He really had to push when his horse peaked at that footbridge, and then that just caused that second rail for him, because then he was really rolling and had the horse in front of him.
Well, again, visitor to us here 2 weeks ago to jump in that Longines FEI Jumping World Cup qualifier. Lauren Tisbo. It was actually Lauren's first World Cup of the season. Lauren with Tekestrian Farms' Mr. Visto. Several 5-star Grand Prix top 10s last season, including a try in North Carolina and here in Wellington, Florida. And took a Longines ranking class win at the Live Oak International in Ocala, Florida last spring as well.
This horse can be a bit sensitive, and Lauren has tried a lot of different tack and equipment and bits on him to find what works best. And he came out at World Cup, and I thought he just looked fantastic and really seems to be back in top form. Great job holding him out there. That's a good roll on that North Star vertical, but she committed to holding, making it work.
Comes down hard on that back rail. Is she going to be right for this in and out? It's okay. Just one to go to bring it home on the 4.
Going to be close at the time.
Just into time. 4 for jumping, 1 for time for Lauren Tisbo and Mr. Visto. So that 5-fault total will put her into 9th position. Our best 4-faulter is still Juan Jose Zendejas for Mexico, holding on to 6th. And it's 5 clear rounds currently coming back to us for the jump-off in this $210,000 Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters.
He jumped very right to left there and kind of twisted in the air, coming back down on that back rail.
We are halfway now through the first round of jumping. After this athlete, we will take a very, very short break and then come back for the second half of jumping and see who will round out the starting field for our jump-off. But before then, Fernando Martinez Sommer, Fernando with core backer. Fernando rode at those World Games last summer as well. Nations Cup team here in the United States last year, and also at Canada in Langley, British Columbia, and a podium finisher in the Nations Cup Grand Prix at Jalapa, his home Nations Cup show last spring as well. Fernando's been part of the starting field here in the World Cup qualifier at Deerage Farms the last 2 years running as well.
This pair can turn in a clear round over a big track. Really looking for a breakthrough performance here to get 2019 started off well for them. But they've jumped a lot of big dances, lots of team experience.
Certainly got the pace that he shouldn't need to worry about in 83 seconds time allowed.
That gives him the opportunity to really stay out into that corner, line up that meter 70 oxer, and width, obviously.
It is clear it's actually not the fastest. Andrew Wells was faster than him, but it doesn't matter. They will come back in the order in which they qualify, and now we have 6 coming back to us. Another for Mexico in Fernando Martinez Sommer, making it that 6th clear in this Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters as we get to the halfway point of jumping in the first round.
Well, they've been building all season long, and that was definitely the best that they've come out so far in 2019, and looking like they're peaking at just the right time.
So don't go too far away. They're going to come in and set this amazing turf arena here at the Palm Beach Masters right back up to tip-top condition, and we've got 22 more looking for their place in the jump-off for the lion's share of $210,000 in this Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters.
Welcome to the 2019 Palm Beach Masters Series. Katie Stazak here. We're unveiling a slew of new amenities in 2019, and one of them is right here. It's the Boardwalk Boutiques. We have lifestyle and equestrian vendors all lined up and down in one of the best locations in the house. We are ringside here at our Sand Arena, and we're going to take a look at some of the options available on our boardwalk. So one of the vendors we have here in our Boardwalk Boutiques is Stacy and Molly. I've got Stacy Bradley here, and this is the go-to destination for accessories. Stacy, tell me a little bit about some of the products you have here at the Palm Beach Masters.
All of the products in our booth are handmade. We have 2 different items. We have belt buckles and we have jewelry.
So there really is something for absolutely everyone here on the Boardwalk Boutiques. Not just equestrian brands, we have lifestyle, and we have Park Luxury here. I have Christiana Marie, and she's the manager of Park Luxury. Tell me a little bit about the wide variety of products that you offer.
Okay, well, we have 3 classifications. We have luxury, sport, and travel and leisure.
For Colombia are the 6 so far, but the second half reads like a show jumping who's who. The World Cup final champion from last year, Beezie Madden, will start second after the break. Darragh Kenny, the brilliant Irishman, comes the second half of the draw. The man that won the Palm Beach Masters Speed Tour this morning, Ben Mayer, world number 7, comes to Great Britain in the middle of the second half. Adrienne Sternlicht, part of the gold medal for the US last year, comes in the second half. Former world number 1 and a brilliant man, Kent Farrington. Laura Kraut, also part of the team gold, comes later. Lorenzo de Luca, Shane Sweetnam. And then McLain Ward comes forth from the back end of the pack, the world number 2. Just some of the headline acts to look forward to in the second half of this $210,000 Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters.
So welcome back to the Palm Beach Masters Series here at Deerage Farms in Wellington, Florida, just outside Palm Beach. And we're here for Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup Week. We're halfway through the jumping of the $210,000 Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters. And so far, we've converted 6 attempts into clear rounds that will come back for the jump-off. Wilton Porter for the USA, Kat Tyree for the US, Juan Manuel Gallego for Colombia. Then it is Eugenio Garza Perez for Mexico, Andrew Wells for the USA, and another for Mexico just before the break in Fernando Martinez Sommer. Well, 12 months ago, the Nations Cup Grand Prix of the United States of America was being held in Ocala, Florida, and it was this man who took the victory. Rowan Willis, Rowan with his own Blue Movie, the Australian Championship rider. They had intended to have an Australian team in that Nations Cup in Ocala last year. Unfortunately, it just didn't come to pass. So the very first time that Rowan ever rode on an Australian Nations Cup team was at the World Championships in Tryon, North Carolina. He went on to finish just outside the individual top 10 by the end of the week, as well as his 5-star Grand Prix win at that Ocala Nations Cup show last year. He's been top 5 in a 5-star Grand Prix at Tryon, North Carolina last year, and won Grand Prix in Bratislava and twice at Samarin in Slovakia.
This is a great partnership. What a story. A lot of riders now bring up horses from a young age, but Rowan Willis was with this horse when it was born. I mean, he has brought it up from the very beginning. She's quite quirky. They can hardly ride her when they're schooling at home, but they come out here and they just do their job.
An amazing support from owners to come over here. Unfortunately, just takes the top rail off. The CP just ran at it a little bit. So no back-to-back victory, unfortunately, for Rowan here in the United States.
I mean, she is definitely on the engine. Rowan doing such a good job of just trying to stay still.
Yeah, Blue Movie certainly not making things terribly easy for him. I know he's dividing his time quite a bit between Ocala and down here in Wellington across this spring season. Just takes the Deerage Farm, settles then, and gets what he needs through the in and out. But coming home on 8 faults it is for Rowan Willis and Blue Movie.
Well, this mare really loves to jump. It's great to have a horse that you know is going to get you to the other side because she's so eager to do it, but she just pulled Rowan a bit past a few of these jumps, and he was so strong with his body to try to stay there, but she gave him all he could handle today.
So a member of that NetJets US team this week here at Deerage Farms. Beezie Madden with Abigail Wexner's Chic in Derincourt. Chic in Derincourt was her World Cup winner at the National Horse Show last year, one of 2 World Cup wins in a row for Beezie, having won Washington, the nation's capital, the weekend before. She's an 11-time World Cup finalist, converting 2 of those appearances into the championship title. She rode her World Cup title-winning horse Breitling yesterday in the Grand Prix qualifier for a 3rd-place finish. Always saying that Breitling would be her Nations Cup horse for Sunday, but he just did need the run to get a bit of mileage before being asked to do his best for his nation.
Beezie is so well mounted right now. It's incredible, the horsepower that she has in her string, and she can really just go in there and do eeny, meeny, miny, mo and pick a horse that she could ride in the Nations Cup. This horse is sensational. She thinks really highly of him. Still quite a new partnership, but already won that qualifier in Lexington, and she'll have plenty of options for World Cup finals when she goes to defend her title in April.
Yeah, winning 2 qualifiers on 2 different horses. She brought Kocher, I think it was, out for the first time here at the World Cup 2 weeks ago and placed top 5 with Kocher as well. So it's been very, very popular clear if she can make it and push us up to 7. A lot of big names still to come. It's a great Grand Prix field here.
She is fighting hard. What a ride. What commitment.
Well, there we are, Beezie and Chic in Derincourt. As you'd expect, join the starting lineup for our jump-off. And if you needed an example of the quality of this starting field, here we are, just over halfway through, and we've got 7 horses for a jump-off already for the Grand Prix. It's going to be a big jump-off, but that is simply because they're coming in and jumping so well. Alan Wade has tried hard to reduce the number of clears available around this course. World Games and Nations Cup finals rider for the British last year, Amanda Derbyshire. Podium in the Dixon Oval at the Devon Horse Show in Pennsylvania last year. Amanda just off the podium at Toronto, just outside the top 5 at the National Horse Show in Lexington, Kentucky, in World Cup duty here. Based with the Gotchman Sport Horses, Baxter Hill Farm, right here in Wellington, Florida. Although no British team here, Amanda will be one of the Federation's Nations Cup ambassadors this season throughout the whole Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup series.
Amanda's gotten so many reps in the ring with so many different horses, and she's really taken her riding to the next level. Fortunately, not quite lining up that vertical the way she'd like.
Started her professional career with Nick Skelton at home in the UK and still works frequently with him. Nick was on the sidelines for her at those World Games last September. Well, that's a nice round of jumping. Unfortunately, just the Taylor Harris Insurance Services vertical down for Amanda Derbyshire and Roulette BH. So one more chance for Great Britain to make it into the jump-off, and that's going to be in the form of a rider from inside the Longines World Top 10, Ben Mayer, to come a little later in the starting order.
Good hustle there through that double. Horse really shifts hard right to left and then just gets a bit low with the front end.
So we're now riding Fleur de l'Aube. It is Jessica Springsteen for her own Stonehill farm. Jessica, who qualified through to 5 Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix last season. Winner of the Queen's Cup at the Nations Cup finals in Barcelona last year as well. And she was just outside the top 10 in the World Cup here at Deerage a fortnight ago. Jessica's been on US Nations Cup teams, including on a US team that won the Aga Khan, the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup of Ireland in Dublin a couple of seasons ago.
Jessica having a much smoother go-round today. She had a little bit of trouble in yesterday's qualifier. Very patient there to the vertical.
It's interesting to see how it ends up for Jess, but you take 2 other stories. Andrew Wells, you said, had a bad day yesterday. He came in super determined today. Eugenio Garza Perez ended up sitting on his bottom in the Grand Prix yesterday, and comes in and jumps one of the best clear rounds we've had so far. So, a little bit of determination and grit to try and make up for yesterday is certainly proving to be a key to success. But unfortunately, just a very cheap rail there towards home for Jessica Springsteen. It's going to put her on the 4 faults and keep her out of the jump off here today.
Sometimes it just takes a little bit of a chip on your shoulder to light a fire and give you a little bit of extra determination. Still a very solid ride for Jessie Springsteen, and she'll move right into 9.
Yeah, just a shade slower than Juan Jose Zendejas, who's still our fastest 4-faulter in 8th position.
She was steadying in there, just bit to get to the vertical, but kept rolling and couldn't have that extra space out to the Oxer.
Darragh Kenny ranked 20th in the world as at today in the Longines World Rider Rankings. Darragh for Ireland with Jack Snyder's Babalu. Darragh jumped World Cup at the London International Horse Show in Olympia, and again then here a fortnight ago. He's won a 3-star Grand Prix 2 years running here in Wellington, Florida, and was a World Cup finalist for Ireland back in 2010. Rode at the World Games in 2014, and he's been to the Nations Cup finals for Ireland before now as well.
This is a sensational horse, and a particular affinity for grass. Lots of great results in a big grass field. Darragh and his team have carefully brought her back from some time off. He really tried to fan out there, and the mare was kind of cross-cantering, and he tried to be patient. Didn't quite work out there.
Interesting, we've seen a couple of riders, ride their Nations Cup chosen horse yesterday in the Grand Prix qualifier, ride another horse here today. This is Darragh's Nations Cup horse, so he has decided that it needs a run in the Grand Prix to really be ready for Sunday if he's one of Michael Blake's 4. Each nation can have a squad of up to 5 riders from which they choose the Nations Cup team of 4.
I think that's absolutely the right call to ride her today, especially with the time off. It's great to get another rep in the ring and be ready for those big technical tracks on Sunday. And she looks like she's quite fresh there afterwards, so still should have plenty left in the tank.
Yeah, a long old track. Over 600 meters in length, 83 seconds the time allowed, and Babalu there still seeming as fresh as a daisy, having jumped it all for just 1 down. Well, not part of the NetJets US jumping team this week, but very much entitled to the pink coat of US team rider Lucy Deslauriers, with her mother Lucy Deslauriers' Hester. Lucy, a former national under-25 champ. Well, I understand since the press release was done, Lucy is in fact part of that NetJet squad. Devon Ryan standing aside this week. So an exciting week to represent her country on home soil. She's been to the Nations Cup finals, big Div 1 Nations Cups in Europe, and the Thunderbird qualifier in Langley, British Columbia. Lucy, who went through 2 years of winning the Prix qualifier for the American Gold Cup, but being too young to actually show in the main class itself. She is, like several of our younger riders here in the field as well, also a graduate of the North American Young Rider Championship system, and leaving it with the individual gold medal.
And now a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania. It's amazing what Lucy Deslauriers has accomplished already at just 19 years old. So many Senior Nations Cup appearances, and that's just a testament of how reliable she is. She is a cool customer. Not much rattles her.
But she does rattle that fence, and down it comes. But you know, the word prodigy, you know, the under-21 championships is the young riders. She won it in 2015 when she was 14 or 15 years old. She could still be riding in it for another 2-3 years. Like, she was by far the youngest contender, I would say, that year, and topped the field. You know, 3 big Nations Cup appearances last year. Barcelona the finals, Dublin in Ireland, T-Bird on this series here in North Central America and Caribbean in Langley, British Columbia. And again, those 3 big hits were because last year was the first year she could actually ride Senior Nations Cup for the United States of America.
Absolutely. They were chomping at the bit.
So a super horse and rider combination. They know each other so well. Lucy Deslauriers and Hester, unfortunately, just have the second fence down, the Kennedy Space Center fence.
Great time.
For 4 faults. Yeah, Katie's absolutely right. They overtake Juan Jose Zendejas as fast as 4 faulter, going into 8th position.
Just coming down with the back feet on that vertical. It rattles up in those cups, and just a bit of an unlucky roll for them there.
2 for Mexico currently in our jump-off. Could it be 3? And are Mexico setting themselves up for an assault on the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup on Sunday with such good jumping? Enrique Gonzalez hopes that's exactly the case. Enrique with Chacna by Chaco Blue goes next. Olympian in 2008, 3 times a World Games rider, including last summer. Enrique jumping over in Europe just before Christmas. We saw him at some of the big indoor shows there. And a member of the Mexican team that won bronze at the Guadalajara Pan American Games back in 2011. Lima, Peru, playing host to the Pan Ams this year, when some all-important Olympic qualification slots are on offer. Two in a row for fence 2.
These two had a slew of top 5 finishes in these 5-star Grand Prix. Been quite consistent. The triple bar makes it 8.
It's a shame. It's not a fence you expect to come down very often. Indeed, I would say that's the first time it has come down this whole class, but he is off course.
got a bit lost there. He's gonna just elect to retire there after that.
Yeah, the jury just want to be sure, because we did have a rider put his hand up earlier on and then almost looked like he then came around and finished the course. And I can tell you that both signals were as clear as day, really, to us, but they're just making absolutely sure, and Enrique is classified as retiring. Yeah, he looked like in a great spot, and the horse just cut down behind on that triple bar, and I think that was probably what led Enrique to go. There's something just doesn't feel 100% here.
Absolutely, because like you said, John, that's not a fence that typically comes down. It's designed to make the next rail fall.
So a very highly ranked and highly decorated rider now. World number 7, the Longines Global Champions Tour Series champion from 2018. An Olympic and European gold medalist, Ben Mayer, with Poden Farms Concona. He was 6th in the World Cup qualifier here a fortnight ago, winning the Saturday jump-off class, which was his birthday present to himself. And he won the speed class earlier today as well here at Deerage. So this is fast becoming a happy hunting ground for Ben.
He won the Grand Prix qualifier here last season as well. He has a great record here at Deer Ridge Farms, and now doing so with some younger horses, calling these the next generation. And boy, have they just stepped up so quickly in the season and early in their 9-year-old year.
If the world has any sense, they'll be looking at the 9-year-olds that Ben Mayer is riding as well, because, you know, the season he had last year with that vintage of 9-year-olds, Explosion W and Winning Good, were just simply unbelievable. As well as his no less than 4 wins in Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix. He was a very, very big part of his Global Champions League team's series success as well with those 9-year-old horses. And here he is. Oh, just clear inside the time in this Grand Prix, the Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters. So Ben Mayer is going to make it 8 through to the jump-off and 1 for Great Britain.
Well, he had a clock in his head there because he was quite patient and took his time down that last line, and he knew exactly how much room he had. He's just a clear round producing machine as of late, Ben Mayer.
US team gold medalist from last year's World Equestrian Games, Adrienne Sternlicht. 4th in the Longines Grand Prix of Ireland at Dublin last year. Had a good run in the Nations Cup Grand Prix here in Wellington, Florida last year. And has had some good results in international show jumping here in South Florida already this season. Adrienne took a top 5 in the Friday classes of the World Cup weekend as well. She rides Starlight Farms to Largo in today's Longines Grand Prix.
She really held there and tried to create some space by fading left to that meter 60 vertical. Wasn't quite enough. That falls to put her on 4. Adrienne just has a stellar cast of horses, and I always feel like this one gets overshadowed a bit because of the star power elsewhere with the likes of Crystalline, but what a consistent campaigner. A little bit of a stumble there. And she's not quite able to recover the way she'd like. She's just going to circle here. Recover and take that again.
Such a big campaign for her last year to get onto that team at the World Games and then be an important part of it as well. her record at the beginning of the season, she'd say it herself, wasn't putting her necessarily in the mix for the World Games. She had to go out and really produce to get onto Robert Ridland and Lizzie Cheston's radar. And this year she wants to do the same for the Pan Am Games, and with the next horse as well, because it's not such a high level of championships, and it's an opportunity for her, to say, I'm a championship rider, I'm going to produce several championship horses. 11 faults it is in this Longines Grand Prix, though, for Adrienne Sternlicht and Tulago today.
Her horse really fell in with that left shoulder and then clipped his toe when he landed. They just weren't able to recover and get back to that triple the way they'd like. And then, of course, that first rail at the meter 60 CP vertical.
So Brazilian rider Rodrigo Lambre, sole Brazilian rider. Of course I'm lying to you, there are two of them. But not a full team here for this Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup week. But Rodrigo, who was third in the Grand Prix at Ocala last year, he won the Grand Prix at the Nations Cup show at Jalapa last year, meaning that he was an automatic qualifier for this class. He's also won a Grand Prix at Guadalajara in January of this year. Brazilian Rodrigo Lambre with Maria Oñate's Coleman.
Well, Rodrigo has been traveling on the same circuit as I have, because he's been going back and forth to Mexico. And we went down for Guadalajara's World Cup, came back for the World Cup here, back to Mexico for Leon's new qualifier, and he had different horses all over the place, and great to see him with the support. And this is a great horse, and that's very unlike them. Looks like he was just caught completely by surprise out of the turn.
Yeah, he's going to tip the hat to the judges, it looks like, and retire very early on in the track, because, again, if the horse is going to come out of a corner like that and let him down going into the triple combination, there's some work to be done.
Yeah, he just zoned in on that too late and completely backed off, looking into that triple combination.
Yeah, horses in Coleman in Mexican ownership for a couple of years with Maria Oñate campaigning to World Cup level, and of course before that with Cassia Rivetti over in Europe. Well, we were mentioning U.S. strength and depth. Here's another one, a U.S. Olympian, Lauren Huff. Pan Am team gold medalist, part of the individual and team podium at the Toronto Pan Ams back in 2015. She's been to Nations Cup finals. She's been on Nations Cup teams right around the world for the United States of America, and a career winner of a Grand Prix on the Longines Global Champions Tour Series as well. Lauren today with Paloma.
Lauren comes into 2019 with quite a few new horses in her string from several different owners. This mare ridden by the likes of Peter Wilde and Michael Hughes before Lauren got the ride at the end of 2018. And this horse is really quite useful. Very quick across the ground. Has been a great speed horse, but can step up to these bigger tracks as well. Just gives you so many options. But it's C of the Longines triple. That will count against them.
Yeah, be very interested to see it again, but it just felt like my initial reaction was maybe she just carried a little bit too much speed and got down onto that third element and ended up pulling the rail.
This is still a very new partnership as well. Oh, she does 7 there, fits it in.
Well, unfortunately, takes the last with her as well. 2 big Longines meter 60 oxes, verticals, on the ground for the total of 8 faults for Lauren Huff and Paloma.
Here's another look at that triple. It was hard to see on the first attempt, but she does look like it just was a bit quick. And same here, she just was rolling home and building all the way to that final vertical, and those are big, tall verticals.
Well, back in the Canadian colours for this man, Mario Delorier. He's ridden and won at some of the biggest and best shows in the world, right back to being the World Cup champion in 1984, the youngest ever World Cup champion. He's been a Grand Prix winner here in Florida already this spring, and he was the runner-up in the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup qualifier here at Deer Ridge just a fortnight ago. Mario Delorier with Wishing Well Farms, Bardolina. Rode for Canada, for the United States of America, I should say, from 2009 up until the end of 2017.
And switching to Canada has allowed him to actually compete against his daughter in a few Senior Nations Cup teams, which has probably been a very unique experience for him. And this mare has really just had a breakout year in 2018. It jumped all the big dances. It's just a 9-year-old. And now that they've gotten, more of the clear rounds down, they're working on finessing the jump off. They were second in the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup Wellington just a couple of weeks ago, and now looking to kind of polish off that jump off. Of course, they have to get there first. Well, that line was ridden beautifully. Oh, a good hard rattle on our chicken coop boxer. And now the mare's jumping nice and high, does not want to touch anything.
A lovely, lovely round there from Mario Delorier. It's Canada's first clear of the day, but let's not forget that Erynn Ballard in earlier on picked up just to 4 faults. Just thinking about those tactics and permutations that could come in the 4-member team jumping format on Sunday, the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup.
This mare is getting just so consistent, and that is so hard to do at this level. That was another great effort. So athletic.
Less than 10 to go in the first round of jumping, but big hitter after big hitter. And Ken Farrington is certainly one of them. He had a runner-up spot in a 5-star Grand Prix just in recent weeks. A recent winner of the Nations Cup Grand Prix in Rome. Part of the US team at the most recent Pan American Games, part of the gold medal jump-off at the Rio Olympic Games. 5-time World Cup finalist, and winner of the Longines Dublin Grand Prix, the Longines Barcelona Cup, and the Longines King George, the Grand Prix at the Hickstead Nations Cup show in Great Britain, amongst many, many others. Kent, with his own and RCG Farms Credence.
Of course, Kent was the #1 ranked rider in the world for about 8 consecutive months. He was just on an absolute roll, and that's because he really is a true modern show jumper, and that's what he calls and describes this horse. He's fast, careful, and he can jump big, and that's really everything that you want to look for in a horse in today's sport. And the only reason Kent lost that top ranking was missing time due to an injury to himself. But he's so athletic. And running into an issue here. Looks like he's pulled up. And he's just going to end on the one rail.
So former world number one Kent Farrington and Credence electing to retire in today's Longines Grand Prix. In terms of, you know, five-star shows, there could be, if you had the horsepower, one every weekend, and Credence is certainly a horse that can go and can win. So Kent having that early CP rail just feels that it's not his day, and it also, you know, it's not sour grapes, because obviously maybe Kent felt, I think there are more poles to be had the way this horse is jumping today. Let's go. Let's make sure of a clear next time out. You know, he is very professional, very dedicated, very focused, but he is also a sportsman, and he knows that this is not just jumping, it is show jumping, and he's here for the crowd. So, you know, don't think that he's just had a pole and gone, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to win today. That's not what's happened here. I mean, these guys are putting the welfare of the horse above everything. In all of their decision making.
Oh, absolutely. And no one knows how that horse was feeling except for him right up there on his back. So you have to make the right call, and if you feel that something isn't 100% right, it's not worth it.
Laura Kraut with St. Bride's Farms Jakarta. Laura's been having a very good World Cup season. She could be on her way to another finals. She just has to decide whether she's necessarily got the horsepower to go there and represent herself as she would wish. Part of the gold medal winning team at WEG last year. She's been on US teams that have won World Championship medals before, and an Olympic gold medalist from the 2008 edition.
Another unfortunate early rail. Laura's our Nations Cup ambassador here in Wellington. She'll be jumping Kung Fu here on Sunday, and that gives this mare here in Jakarta a great opportunity to start jumping these bigger tracks. You can hear the verbal cues there, great use of them to that oxer. That's a very challenging fence, and the riders have definitely figured it out by watching everyone's path, but it's all about track there, and it can be very easy to second guess yourself there to a 1.65 wide oxer.
Just into time as well, 4 for jumping, 1 for time for Laura Kraut. And Jakarta here today, as Katie rightly says, it will be back to represent the United States on Sunday with Kung Fu. USA looking to start their campaign across the 3-show season here in North Central America and the Caribbean that will guide them to the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup finals in Barcelona this year.
It's just the 1.60 CP vertical for them, and it's truly a game of inches when it's that height.
Well, man riding in his second week here in Florida this spring, Lorenzo de Luca with Stefex Stables' Enzo de Latrange. Lorenzo, who's picked up some good World Cup results in Europe, should be one of the 18 Western European League qualifiers through to the finals in Gothenburg. Winner of the Nations Cup 5-star Grand Prix at Piazza di Siena in Rome last year. Lorenzo was the Longines Grand Prix of Ireland winner in Dublin back in the 2016 season, a week in which he also was part of the winning Nations Cups team for Italy and won 3 other 5-star classes. He almost swept the board.
Lorenzo has just become an absolute force on the international stage. It's great to have him here at the Palm Beach Masters. And just an all-around lovely human being. This is a horse he knows so well. It did take him a bit to figure him out, though, in the beginning. He says for being such a big horse, he's actually very sensitive. Gosh, he makes it look so easy.
Lorenzo's teammate at StefX Tables, Daniel Deusser, won his third World Cup qualifier of the season at Bordeaux the other day. And his boss, Stefan Conter of StefX, his daughters over here riding throughout the spring season in Wellington, Florida as well. And that's a good result for the StefX Tables of Belgium, as Lorenzo de Luca and Enzo de Latrange make it through to our jump-off now as well. 100% strike rate for Italy today in the Grand Prix.
I don't think that was ever in any doubt. There was no question. They have such a tremendous partnership, and they just made that look so smooth.
Shane Sweetnam is going to be our next to go. Shane Sweetnam, who's listed for the Nations Cup squad for Ireland this weekend with Indra van der Ude Heijerhof. Here he rides Kirschwasser SCF, a 9-year-old by Amaretta Darko, owned by Spy Coast Farm, who've been tremendous partners to Shane over his many years here in the United States. Irish team at the Tryon World Games and part of the gold medal winning team at the Gothenburg European Championships the year before.
This is a younger horse for Shane. This is definitely the biggest track that they will have jumped together. Shane likely would have been riding his horse Main Road today, and devastatingly the horse was found, just passed away last week. Such a tremendous horse. This will be a great opportunity for this one, who seems to be figuring things out quite quickly.
It's actually been a very interesting 2 weeks for that very reason for this horse, because Shane subbed this horse Kirschwasser into a 5-star Grand Prix here in Florida last week, and actually this is a tougher first round, but you know, to jump 2 5-star technicality Grand Prix first rounds in 2 weeks in a row is a huge it's a huge school year.
It's a big ask and it's taxing, but what a response.
There we are, Shane Sweetnam and Kirschwasser SCF are clear. And remember, this isn't Shane's Nations Cup horse, so he can go all out today to try and win this Longines Grand Prix, as several of the other riders can. But of course, some who are on their Nations Cup horse, they will jump best on Sunday if they are pushed today. Every horse is just that little bit different.
That's got to be so exciting. This horse is actually a homebred by Spy Coast Farm and Lisa Laurie. They have brought him up from the very beginning. That is just brilliant.
Another man from the Underwriting Exchange and Devenish Insurance Irish Nations Cup squad this week here in Florida. Paul O'Shea with Tekestrian Farms, Emerald van Voorhof by Emerald van Reutershof, and Emerald, the ride of Harry Smulders, retired from the sport just this week. Harry announced that, and I'm sure there'll be a very emotional ceremony to be had to signal the end of that horse's career at a forthcoming major show at home in the Netherlands. Paul was on the Irish team at the World Games last year, having won the Grand Prix test event 12 months previously in 2017. Last year he was on Nations Cups at home in Dublin, Falsterbo in Sweden, Le Ball in France, and Chamarin in Slovakia.
Paul was really happy with how this horse jumped during World Cup week. And you have to think about it. When you're jumping at these CSIO 5-star events, you need to have essentially 2 horses that can jump meter 60 at the 5-star level, and that is so difficult to have a horse that can do the Nations Cup and the Grand Prix. Paul's bringing this one up, and he's just coming along with a really nice string right now. It's amazing that we had 115 five-star horses jog this week. A little bit of a rattle there. Great recovery down that line. Come on, Paul.
2 in a row are clear, and both of them for Ireland. Paul O'Shea and Shane Sweetnam join those in our jump-off here in this $210,000 Longines Grand Prix. Clear rounds 11 and 12 for the starting order of our jump-off. Sorry, Katie.
He's got his whole family here with them this week. They will be absolutely ecstatic. He has a great, great fan base here. He'll be thrilled with that horse.
Well, we've already seen one of the Israeli riders. We've got 2 more to come, and here's the first of them. Danielle Goldstein, Danny with her own and the Golden Group's Lizzie Mary. Twice a 5-star Grand Prix winner. Once here in Wellington, South Florida, and also on the Longines Global Champions Tour in Cascais, Estoril, Portugal. Last year's World Games was Danny's second World Games appearance for Israel. It's also ridden at 3 continental championships in Europe.
She's truly spearheaded the Israeli team in bringing all of the great riders together that have now allowed them to have these teams at the championships and these Nations Cup events. Stutter step to fit that stride there to see. She just springs off the ground of this mare.
Showing extreme adjustability there down that line to make it happen. And Danny Goldstein is clear for Israel, and one more to come for them who could equally well be clear. Also a 5-star Grand Prix winner in Daniel Blumen coming in 1 or 2 horses time. But now one for Israel, joining a 13-strong jump-off, and at the moment Danny Goldstein goes last of that jump-off. They come back in the order in which they qualify. So Wilton Porter, who jumped out very first clear, will be first in the jump-off. Goldstein will come in a dozen later, knowing exactly what's to be done. Who could yet join them?
Oh, it could be this one.
Back end of the Longines Grand Prix, and now the turn of the Longines number 2 in the world rankings.
Certainly could. World number 2, McLain Ward, rides Contagious by Contagio for Beechwood Stables. Part of that gold medal winning team at the World Games. McLain has over the winter won the World Cup qualifier in Toronto. Won the New York Masters, part of the Longines Master Series last year. The Grand Prix there. Also won the Hampton Classic Grand Prix in 2018. And if you look down the list of any major Grand Prix in the world over the last few years, you're liable to find McLain Ward's name in the winner's circle. Some of the great horses he's had over recent years, and of course taking that very emotional World Cup finals victory in Omaha 2 seasons ago.
McLain gave H.H. Azure a lovely school around this grass field earlier for the Nations Cup. Great to have that mare back. And another who was just absolutely loaded with horsepower. He got this horse just last year, and he's been quite consistent. A bit of a delayed rail, though, there at our meter 60 North Star vertical.
Just looks to hold the horse out here. on the turn rather than letting it fall in and just make this distance more difficult. McLain, he's a scientist. He's very precise. It's not a surprise to see him do that, and just to ask the horse to stay out exactly where he wants him to be. It's a shame, just the 4 faults for the late falling pole for McLain Ward and Contagious, but remember, he's got the big guns. He's got Annie, Double H Azure ready for Sunday. Yeah, just trailed the hind hooves across the top of this North Star fence. And as often as it might roll back, for somebody, it's got to roll forward out of the cups, and unfortunately that was for McLain. Brazilian rider Eduardo Menezes with H5 Sport Horses, H5 Quintol. Eduardo, who was the runner-up in the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup qualifier at Del Mar, tail end of last year. Leipzig World Cup finalist, that was back in 2011. Finals won by Christian Allman. Eduardo has won World Cup qualifiers at Las Vegas, at Del Mar before now, and also at Thermal in California, and has been for Brazil to the Nations Cup finals in 2017 as well. He's having a good week here. Top 5 in the welcome on Thursday, top 5 in this morning's speed class as well.
He won the Longines Grand Prix in Jalapa last April. He's had this horse since he was just 6 years old. Menezes does a great job of picking up the pace a little bit. He started off a bit more controlled and collected. He's making up the time where he can. Oh, and what a shame. Lightly rolled that final vertical. What a lovely round it was.
So 4-fault round for Eduardo Menezes and H5 Quintol. So the Brazilian rider will have to sit out the jump off, slotting into 18th position at the moment. Lucy Deloria still with the fastest 4. Third rider in today's Longines Grand Prix here of the Palm Beach Masters for Israel. This is Daniel Blumen, hoping to join Danielle Goldstein through to our jump-off. Daniel, a 2-time Olympian, a career winner of the Central Park Horse Show Grand Prix and the Hampton Classic Grand Prix. He has won several 5-star Grand Prix here during the series of events in Wellington, Florida. Formerly riding and representing Colombia right the way through to Olympic level, but both his mother and his wife are Israeli, so he changed during the 2017 season, and the World Games in 2018 was his first Israeli championship appearance.
This is a horse that was actually previously ridden by Ilan Blumen before Daniel got the ride, and what a partnership they've had. Nice win in a ranking class at Toronto back in November. Top 10 in the World Cup qualifier there at the Royal Winter Fair. We're on 13 clear at the moment. And 2 great pairs to come, and this one on a clear at the moment, and our final to go will be Margie Engel and Royce. Held off great for that 6. Just one left to go. And another lovely clear in the books.
The Daniel is clear. That's 2 for Israel coming back for our jump off. And in this case, it is going to be clear round number 14. One more to come. It could very easily be 15. We've got a great one to finish as well.
Well, John, will it be 14 or 15?
There's a very good chance it's going to be 15 because Margie Goldstein Engel already been jumping super well this season and indeed right throughout 2018. She's actually in a real purple patch. 17 times a World Cup finalist, 10 times US Rider of the Year, Olympian, world medalist for the United States of America, winner of a good Grand Prix here in Florida in December, and third in the Welcome Stakes here on Thursday at Deerage as well, ranked just outside the world's top 20 riders.
Hard to believe that Royce is 15 this year, but he's really gotten better with age because he's just matured mentally and become more rideable. That's a huge testament to the work that Lisa Wilcox has done with this horse in some dressage training to just help with that rideability. And Margie now campaigning him in pretty much exclusively the 5-star level. And this horse certainly does not lack any scope. A bit close to that oxer. The front pole gives a good roll, but this time it'll stay.
Oh, she was really sitting up there, trying to get this big horse Royce back to her. For
Get
the
him
in and
home.
out. There we are. It's clear round number 15. Yet another for the United States of America into the jump off this Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters. Wilton Porter, Cat Tyree, Juan Manuel Gallego, Eugenio Garza Perez, Andrew Wells, Fernando Martinez Sommer, Beezie Madden, Ben Mayer, Mario Delorier, Lorenzo de Luca, Shane Sweeten and Paul O'Shea, Danielle Goldstein, Daniel Blumen, and Margie Goldstein Engel. They are our 15 coming back for the lion's share of $210,000.
Well, there's that lineup there. You just spewed that out, John. So it's quite a field. We could have almost another class with this, and that just really speaks to the caliber of the competitors here, because that was not an easy track.
No, a tough course. I mean, for sure, Alan Wade will be trying to keep a few tricks up his sleeve for Sunday for the Nations Cup, but this is the Grand Prix. Quite literally the big prize, and he wanted to make sure that he was going to have a worthy winner, and if you've come through that first round, you will. It's just the quality of the field here that's meant that 15 did it. And some unlucky riders here like Lucy Deloria, Juan Jose Zendejas, Jesky Springsteen on those 4 faults, and fast 4 faults as well. 4 faults are going to take us right the way outside the top 25. We see Amanda Derbyshire in there amongst others. So they're going to take out some of the extraneous material here, set up the short course, and also just give the ground a little bit of love for the 15 coming back for the Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters, a $210,000 class here from the Palm Beach Masters. Don't go too far away.
It's either really slow or if I push it, it like clicks.
from the first round. In this jump off, they turn a very sharp right-hander. Two elements of the Longines combination remain. It's the offset 5B and the vertical 5C out of the double. They then run a dog leg left-handed line down the offset at fence number 6. There's a left-handed again to the very tool. Black and red and white vertical at 7. And then they'll run to fence number 15. And that is the offset. The Longines white and blue offset to bring them home. That is the modified course for today's Longines Grand Prix jump off.
You know how to counteract it. How to horse walk so happy. It was a horse that started growing up. I rode him through it. Never like threw me off. Never once has done anything. He used to be a show horse. I don't know for what. But I think he was very difficult. Never ever.
So welcome back to South Florida and the Palm Beach Masters here at Deer Ridge Farms for the conclusion to the Longines Grand Prix, part of the build-up towards Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup action here on Sunday. We've got 15, or as many as 15, because I think Katie will talk about that in just a moment, coming back to us. But alongside me, John Kyle, is Katie Stazak. And Katie, tell us a little bit, first of all, about what Alan Wade has done for his short track.
Well, it's a great track. There's lots of room to gallop and a couple of very quick turns. He's also made some changes in the material to some of these fences, and there'll be a new fence. We'll see the riders kind of demonstrate, of course, what I'm going to be explaining, but it's actually the first 3 fences, the North American League Oxer to the NASA Vertical and the Suncast Oxer, which actually posed quite a few problems in the first round. Then the Longines Triple becomes a double. It's just BC, so not that long A to B. It's just the short aspect, B to C, to the Deer Ridge Farms Honey Oxer. The Taylor Hare is a vertical, has no more Liverpool, and then a left turn and a gallop past the in-gate to the final Longines Oxer. You mentioned it, John. We could see as many as 15 in this jump-off. But the feature event we are building up to all week long is the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup USA. It's the only qualifier in the country for Nations Cup finals, and a few of the competitors that we'll see representing their respective teams on Sunday jumped clear rounds in this first round. So will they save their horses, or will they continue on in this very large jump-off? Wilton Porter was the first to go clear. He was brilliant, and he's not jumping in the Nations Cup Sunday, so he's all out, all in right here.
Yeah, absolutely nothing to lose here for young Wilton Porter with his family's Sleepy Pea Ranches, Coleto Cabana.
And he starts off with great pace. Great turn back. His horse really anticipated that turn, too.
Be interesting as we go through the starting order as well to see whether we actually have anyone who has never represented their country at Nations Cup in our jump-off, because Wilton has done it at Bratislava a few seasons ago in Europe. As he jumps the last on the jump-off course, it's a 4-fault jump-off for Wilton Porter. We'll see where that's going to leave him, but 37.12. I don't think it's going to be too bad a time. He certainly started at great pace. Whether he just took the pressure a little bit off himself and his horse after they had that rail remains to be seen. Cat Tyree and Bokkai, the winner of the Longines Grand Prix qualifier yesterday afternoon here at the Palm Beach Masters. Can she give us our first double clear and take over the lead of today's Grand Prix?
Well, this is certainly the pair of the hour. They're on a hot streak. They won our qualifier yesterday, and what it would mean to Cat Tyree to take this 5-star Grand Prix victory. And you kind of saw that coming a bit. She really moved up and was a bit aggressive. Maybe she didn't think her horse was in front of her leg enough, and they reach and pull down that back rail at fence 1.
So now, just thinking a little bit about the 37-1-2 laid down by Wilton Porter. She is not going to take her foot off the gas in case such a fast time could just keep the pressure a little bit on. Of course, any clear would go in front of her. It's difficult to know at this stage how valuable a fast 4-fault might be.
Sure, when you have this large of a field, but still a lot of question marks here in this jump off with how many will be coming back.
So, Wilton Porter proves himself the better of the pair. 37-2-1 is the time for Cat Tyree and Bokkai on the 4 faults.
Yeah, just a bit of hesitation off the ground, and they went to leave long, and that's a bit unfortunate.
Juan Manuel Gallego, the Colombian rider with Kulash Fondenbroy. Rode as part of the Colombian team at the World Games last year. So Colombia with just the one chance in this jump off, and we await our first double clear over Alan Wade's short track. I mean, as you have to do to try and find a shorter line from 1, 2, 3, set up exactly as they were in the first round. He knifed across the first fence, jumping it from right to left.
That was risky, but it paid off for him.
I think he's probably lucky he didn't see Cat Tyree, because he was probably finishing his warm-up. If he had, it might have affected his plan. (39.36), so it is very beatable, but it is our first double clear. So Juan Manuel Gallego puts the pressure on. They have to match him to at least be foot perfect over the poles, and then it's about foot pace across the ground.
Well, it had to be his plan there to really slice those turns where he could, because he just has a naturally slower horse. And even with those efficient turns, he's a bit behind the pace of what we've seen so far. But he gets the job done, and now the pressure is on for everyone that follows.
Been on the winning Nations Cup team in Dublin last year in Longines FEI jumping Nations Cup duty. World Cup qualifier winner on that Longines series in Ohio last October. Eugenio Garza Perez with Victor Finn by Vavite.
These two are major contenders in this jump off.
Still, even given some of the names yet to come in this jump off, perhaps the most stylish first round clear.
It was so confident. Oh, and they're starting off with a great rhythm. But when you do slice that vertical, it also almost gives you more room to carry that bigger pace and not get too deep to the ox or out. Ah, but they carry it through the double, and they'll be on 4.
Takes that vertical now. 37.12 is the fastest 4-fault to Wilton Porter. But it's 8 faults, so the best he can hope for is 4th of 4 so far. Such a big and sudden change for Eugenio, going from, riding for the win of this class potentially to being languishing down on 8 faults.
They just carried so much pace into that double, and then he was trying to be the fastest 4-faulter, and he cut the turn a bit to the second vertical. You have to go for it, though, and with every risk comes some reward, and sometimes it doesn't always pay off.
So coming down the ramp into the ring is Andrew Wells for the United States of America.
This would be huge for Andrew.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting juxtaposition because, well, Eugenio had a bad day yesterday in the Grand Prix as well. He had a fall. Andrew had a tough day yesterday in the Grand Prix qualifier class, but the two first-round clears couldn't have been more different. Eugenio's was so assured and smooth. Andrew had to really work hard to get it done, but still a 0 in the scorecard. That's what you want. And what can he do now?
Yeah, it was maybe a little bit scrappy, but boy, was it determined. And they're just on their game today. And that's the fight that he's going to need in this jump off.
What is it in the Alexander Hamilton song? Just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry.
Wow, he fits in a stutter step there, lands on the left side and straightens out. He is fighting for it. Come on, Andrew.
39.36 to beat if he's going to be double clear, but he's not. The Taylor Harris Insurance Service is gone.
He really fanned out wide to try to avoid that. That's a shame.
Great time, 35.81, faster than anyone around this track, but he is on at the 4 faults. So Andrew Wells goes into second place so far.
He'll be frustrated, but that was a great day for him, and he really should be thrilled. He really had the pace.
Fernando Martinez Sommer with Corbaca. The 12-year-old bike Calandro is the next to represent Mexico in this jump-off. Mexico qualifying 2 riders through. We've already seen Eugenio have his chance. Fernando was a World Games rider last year, having had a good result in the Jalapa series of competitions during Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup action last year. I was on the Nations Cup teams in Ocala here in Florida and in T-Bird in Langley, British Columbia, Canada.
All of those on the grass, a very familiar style of venue for him, but unfortunately coming out and pulling the first rail here. The caveat, I was just about to say, he knows he really has to go for it to try to be fastest, but then he takes down the immediate fence that follows. So now we'll tone it down. Still quite a few left to see in this jump off, as we will keep you updated if everyone will come back. He rode that fence, though, quite well. He's fallen the last 2 rounds.
They're 8 in 40.73 for Fernando Martinez Sommer. So it goes into 6 of 6 so far.
Maybe just a bit close to that first oxer. It looked like a fine distance, really.
So many times she's been part of winning Nations Cup teams for the United States of America, and this is an exciting new ride for her. It's astounding to talk about something that's a new ride, and yet together they've already won a Longines FEI Jumping World Cup qualifier. Beezie Madden, though, can do exactly that. From out of the world's top 10, she rides Abigail Wexner's Chic in Derincourt.
I love this horse, and I know she certainly does. And after she won that qualifier in Lexington, with it being such a new partnership, she looked just like a giddy school child, because she said, I did not know this horse could go that fast. And look at how comfortable they are with the pace now, and he's so anticipating that turn. And he has the stride. It's just massive. Yeah, I mean, 24 seconds landing there. They are up on it. Oh, you saw that. He shifted in and just really came out from her leg there. Oh.
Tried to help, tried to cut in a little bit to the left, but it was not helpful. That Taylor Harris vertical down again, 4 faults, 34.88. They're getting faster, but Juan Manuel Gallego's steady clear, 39.36, still leads the way. He's the only double clear as Beezie takes over second.
She had him straight, and he just shifted in and was so quick as unavoidable.
We stay inside the Longines World Top 10 for Ben Maher for Great Britain. Many times a winner here on the turf of D Ridge. This is the first time, though, the Nations Cup show comes here, so this is Ben Maher's first opportunity to win a 5-star Grand Prix in this arena, and he'll have a go at it. Ben Maher with Concona for Poden Farms. Ben actually, between Jumping World Cup here a fortnight ago and Nations Cup action as an individual this week, he's been back to Europe, riding in the Sunshine Tour over there with his other horses. But he likes to come here to Florida, especially to give one of his top owners, Jane Forbes-Clark, the opportunity to see her horses here close to home.
Yeah, she's been such a great supporter of Ben's, and he is just on fire. Already won our speed tour earlier in the day. He came in and really jumped it on an angle, and that 9-year-old thought he was just going to keep going right. Oh! Almost had to jump that from a standstill. They're really going for it here. You have to give it to them.
It's a big jump off, and you know, we're only halfway there. We've only got one double clear. You know, it's kind of on a plate for you. When you come in, you go, I could win a 5-star Grand Prix here this afternoon. Ben Maher has a good go at it with the 9-year-old horse, 37.78, and 4 faults goes into 6th position.
Great effort even to get out of that double. Just got there so tight and jumping right to left. I wasn't sure if he would come back, but this should be good.
Mario Delorier. Mario for Canada with Wishing Well Farms. Bardolina.
Mario has said they are working on their jump-offs. They are working on going faster and taking the clear rounds and being right up there in the top 3s and taking it to the next level. This mare is sitting on a huge win, and he's going to start off deliberately. Really well done.
Two-time Canadian Olympian who made his Olympic debut in 1984. The same year he became the youngest ever World Cup winner, but the Longines Oxer into what was the triple combination is gone. So still, Gallego is our only double clear.
Like Ben, he just cut that turn exceptionally tight. Great go-round, though. What a consistent mare.
37.49 on the clock for Mario Delorier. That is going to take over 6th place, pushing Ben Maher 1 slot down in our order of merit. As I say, Juan Manuel Gallego still our only double clear round. But you look down this list, there's no one amongst this who's going to come in and just ride for the steady clear. They are going to try and win this and win it well. Beezie Madden, the fastest 4-faulter in 34.88, the fastest of any rider over this short track. Is that the sort of time we're going to see from our winner on a double clear? And who might it be? Italy, Lorenzo de Luca. 2 for Ireland, Shane Sweeten and Paul O'Shea. 2 for Israel, Danielle Goldstein and Daniel Blumen. And then Margie Goldstein Engel. So in fact, am I right? I'm often wrong, but I'm going to say it. I think Margie's the last chance for a US win. We've had all the other US qualifiers through.
She is. Don't doubt yourself, John. You're always right.
So here he comes from the sports team of the Italian Air Force, the Aeronautica Militare. It is Lorenzo de Luca. Another top-ranked rider in the world. He's just outside the world's top 10 at the moment. Been on winning Nations Cup teams around the world for Italy. Won the Nations Cup Grand Prix last year in Rome. riding Enzo de Latrange, and Lorenzo already with a runner-up spot in a speed class here this morning. We know he can ride fast. Can he go one place better on the leaderboard here this afternoon?
He comes in, he gives his horse a little bit of a preview of that sharp right turn back to the Longines double, where we've seen the last 2 rails fall here. He knows this horse so well, a long-time partnership, and you said it, John, he is fast. No, he's not going to go crazy here, but he's tidy.
Yeah, where Lorenzo is in the draw, it's not just about being clear and faster than Juan Manuel. It's about trying to be clear, fast enough to put the pressure on the others that you force them into an error.
And he goes wider there. Oh, that just was cruel. He went wider there, lined it up brilliantly, and it must have fallen a stride after the fence.
So 4 faults at the Taylor Harris for Lorenzo de Luca, 37.45, and that's really interesting. 37.45 is the time Lorenzo de Luca takes around this course, looking like he's only in 4th gear out of 5.
Yep. That was just, that was exceptionally unlucky. I don't know what he could have done differently there. This would be an exceptional story if this 9-year-old wins today.
Well, we'll see how he does. First of 2 in a row for Ireland. Shane Sweetnam. Shane, who's been to World Cup finals and 3 continental championships for Ireland, as well as representing them at last year's World Equestrian Games. Spy Coast Farms Kirschwasser SCF, and as Katie says, that SCF suffix, meaning it was bred there at their farms as well.
At Spy Coast Farm, Lisa Laurie has been just one of Shane's very first supporters and has gone with him all the way through. Early rail here, but this horse has just stepped up exceptionally. He has to be thrilled with it.
Shane has Indra Vern de Udeheijhof on the sidelines for Sunday's Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup. Michael Blake will be making the selection of 4 of his 5 riders.
Ooh, bit lucky there.
4 faults, 37.83, a little bit slower than Lorenzo and indeed slower than Mario Deloria. So 37.83 is going to put Shane Sweetnam on 4 faults into 9th position.
Well, John, we have just 4 remaining here in this 15-strong 5-star jump-off and only 1 clear in the jump-off so far.
Well, it can happen. I think I certainly had one last year. You definitely had one up at Langley in British Columbia in terms of World Cup. 40 athletes coming forward, only 1 clear, so you didn't even have a jump-off.
That was quite a day.
Horses continually surprise us. We've put together some of the best horse and rider combinations in the world. We've ended up with a bigger than expected jump off because you always feel like 7-8's kind of the number you like in a Grand Prix. Here we've got 15 and only 1 has been able to answer the question twice over successfully. What can Paul O'Shea do? I would say almost on home soil for Paul. He's got plenty of support here to make it feel like home this week.
That was beautiful to the vertical. He came at that so quickly and wasn't afraid to be bold with a shorter line out. He regroups here. Come on. Oh, he gets out. This horse is jumping amazing. Well, he's ahead of the pace here. It stays. Come on, Paul.
39.36 is the time to beat Juan Manuel, but really if he can be 34.35, and he's right on the money, 36.03. Paul O'Shea is our second double clear and in a time that could prove very, very competitive.
His whole cheering squad is up here on the second floor of the Berkshire Bank VIP Club, just a few seats down from our set, and they are ecstatic. They should be. Paul has got to be thrilled. That is a horse on the rise and peaking on just the best day possible.
Well, Emerald van Voorhof, the 11-year-old by Emerald van Ruytershof, and Paul O'Shea are our second double clear and into the lead. Israeli team rider Danielle Goldstein goes next with her own and the Golden Group's Lizzie Mary, twice a five-star Grand Prix winner in the past, this combination. Danny finished off a run of 4 clears in a row in the first round. Lorenzo, Shane, Paul and Danielle all went one after the other and qualified through to the jump-off.
Man, this is quite a trio to cap this jump-off here.
Lizzie Mary showed great adjustability for Danny in the first round to get that rustic in and out double in front of the VIP.
Oh, this horse was like an accordion. But they'll pull down the back rail of A. It's come down. I think that's the 3rd time in this jump off.
Just spotted a distance that was a little bit far. Lizzie Mary had to stretch for it. Four faults in 34.88 is in third at the moment. She's going to be slower than, oh no, faster, 34.43, well done. That is just faster than Beezie Madden, goes into third, so a place on the podium at the moment for Israel. And Paul O'Shea is guaranteed podium because he can finish no lower than third. Danielle Goldstein is into third as things stand. Juan Manuel Gallego, with our only other double clear, is in second.
Well, she was on it. I mean, she had almost 2 seconds on Paul's time, so it can be done.
We stay with Israel as they prepare for their first ever weekend jumping in Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup action here in Wellington, Florida. 2 riders from their squad in the jump-off today in the Longines Grand Prix. Daniel Blumen, a 5-star Grand Prix winner here before today in Wellington, Florida. And Dan, also a career winner of the Central Park Horse Show Grand Prix in New York and of the Puissance at Dublin, a very popular winner of that competition a few years ago. The Israeli rider with Alexa Schwitzer and Blue Star Investments, Ladriano Z. 36.03 to beat.
Well, what sport this has been. Taking a look at Margie Engel walking down the pathway to us while Daniel's in the ring, and everyone has come back, regardless of their jumping on Sunday. This just shows this is a 5-star Grand Prix on a Friday. That is just how jam-packed this schedule is here. Wow, it's incredibly athletic in there.
Just having that little bit of inclination to cut across that fence because they can feel the rider's weight looking for the Longines, and it's going again and again and again. It goes for Dan. Dan Blumen is going to be on 36.42 with his 4 faults, and that will go down our order of merit into 6th position. So our 2 double clears will both be on the podium. Paul O'Shea leading at the moment on 36.03 for Ireland. Juan Manuel Gallego for Colombia on 39.36, and it's all going to be down to our last to go.
And that last to go, Margie Engel, the last hope for USA.
She won the season's end 5-star Grand Prix here in Florida last year. Margie Goldstein Engel and a Royce for the United States of America. 36.03 is her time to beat. Margie, who is herself ranked just outside the world's top 20, was a top 5 finisher in last year's super fast Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix of Miami Beach.
Margie is the definition of competitor. She goes for it no matter the level, no matter the prize money. She just loves the sport and loves to win.
And often rides her first round like it's a jump off already, so
this horse is just such an athlete. She is just booking it.
36.03.
All
Get
right.
this one right, Margie.
Oh,
Yes.
she's got it. Oh, it's going to be close.
Look at the time, though, 36.78. Paul O'Shea is our winner. Margie Goldstein Engel is going to finish second, and it'll be our 3rd double clear. Juan Manuel Gallego that finishes 3rd today in the Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters, a $210,000 class. But look at Margie, grinning from ear to ear. She enjoyed that, even if she couldn't quite get the win.
She looked like she had an absolute ball, and she never fails to put on a show for the crowd. She's definitely a hometown favorite in the U.S. and, of course, in South Florida, being a Miami native. And she gave it a great run, but it's going to be Paul O'Shea's day, and boy, did he deserve it.
So Paul O'Shea of Ireland is our winner, and it'll be Aaron Navian ringing out this afternoon for the Grand Prix victory. What will be happening come Sunday afternoon at the conclusion of the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup? Ireland have been winners here in the United States of America before, and they'd love to do so on Sunday. Some great names in that jump off, including Ben Meerflat in the world's top 10, Dan Blumen, who we saw as well, Mario Delorier, the Canadian Olympian, and Bardolina. And a lot of bad luck stories, Bardolina and Concona being two of them, two young horses just having those unfortunate 4 faults with very competitive times, as it turned out.
It really was an exceptional jump off, great sport, and the recurring theme is Alan Wade always wins. He had a big jump off, but his course still stands up with just a couple of double clears today.
Yeah, we saw there the likes of Lucy Delorier with the fastest 4-faulter in the first round. Juan Jose Zendejas. We've also got McLain Ward there from the US Nations Cup team down in 19th position. But remember, whilst we have some of the riders, we don't have all the Nations Cup horses. They're going to be quite a different dynamic on Sunday. 4 team riders, 3 scores to count over 2 rounds of jumping over an identical track. It's a great competition. If you've watched if you've heard somebody say that they saw a Nations Cup and it was boring, they weren't watching the class. It is always fascinating, and we look forward to bringing it to you across the rest of the weekend on PalmBeachMasters.com and US Equestrian Network, USEF Network. We're going to have action of all of our CSIO 5-star classes, and on Sunday the feature class, the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup from Wellington, Florida, the Nations Cup of the United States of America, comes at you with the first horse in the ring at 1:30 Eastern from this amazing venue here, the Palm Beach Masters. But Katie, would you like to just give any sort of sum up of today's class and a throw forward?
Well, when you have that many clears over that type of track, it just, again, goes to show you the caliber of riders. And we're in for a real treat Sunday for the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup of the USA. What a treat it is to have the only Nations Cup qualifier and a 5-star here at Deer Ridge Farms.
It's a 5-star show, and it is now at a 5-star venue as well here at the Palm Beach Masters. We are enjoying our time here and looking forward to that class. We hope you are too, and you'll be back with myself, John Kyle, and Katie Stazak come Sunday. Now we're going to throw it out to the bowl for the awards of the $210,000 Longines Grand Prix of the Palm Beach Masters. Thanks for joining us.
As a market leader in high-quality resin, wood, and metal products made in the USA for over 25 years, we believe in constant change and innovation to make your life and job easier. The best innovations come from listening to problems and properly interpreting the issues to create a solution. We take pride in creating high-quality, innovative, and thoughtful products for the commercial space.
As the title partner and official timekeeper of the series, Longines is proud to be associated with the Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup of the United States of America here in Palm Beach. Longines' passion for equestrian world dates back to 1869. Today, the brand is involved in the most important equestrian events all over the world. The official watch here in Palm Beach is the Conquest VHP, very high precision model representing a new achievement in the field of courts and combining great precision, high technicality and a sporty look. We come, ladies and gentlemen, to the prize giving of the Longines Grand Prix here at the Palm Beach Masters for 2019. We're delighted to welcome the presenting party, Christina Welling representing Longines and Lou Jacobs representing the Palm Beach Masters. And also the owner of the winning horse making presentations as well. Delighted to welcome Lauren Tisbo. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in the top 5 of the Longines Grand Prix here at the Palm Beach Masters. Please welcome, in 5th position, it's Beezie Madden for the USA, Chicken de Hirencourts. In 4th position, she's having a wonderful year. She was part of the World Games last year in Trinidad. It's another brilliant finish. Please welcome Israel's Danielle Goldstein and Lizzie Mary. 4th place in the Longines Grand Prix with the one mistake in the jump off. In 3rd position, we had only 3 double clears in the entire Longines Grand Prix. And 3rd, Colombia's Juan Manuel Gallego, Kulash Vanderbroy Z. And the reserve champion in 2nd, we welcome Margie Goldstein Engel and the great Royce. 2nd in the Longines Grand Prix. And the winner, ladies and gentlemen, 36.03. He's had a brilliant Longines Grand Prix. The champion is Ireland's Paul O'Shea. Imrod van ter Voorhof, the Longines Grand Prix champion here at the Palm Beach Masters for 2019. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask you all to please be upstanding for the national anthem of the winning nation, Ireland.